Hey, I'm going to just add something real quickly to what Glenn just shared. One of the reasons I was so excited about his title is I actually believe you can summarize the entire Bible into one word, and that word is relationship. I mean, and you guys have heard me say this hundreds and maybe even thousands of times because I say it so often, but that's what this Bible's all about is relationships, having a vertical relationship with him, which is obviously the most important relationship you can have, but then also secondarily having these horizontal relationships. And so, Glenn, you gave us some really nice handles here on just how relationships work, how relationships can be reset. And love the HOT acronym. I'm always a good acronym guy. I can remember this one: humble, open, transparent. And something happens pretty dynamically in relationships when you have that kind of an entry point. There's something about genuineness and authenticity that occurs, which is really the roots of being humble, open, and transparent. And it makes it much easier to engage people. And of course, Christ modeled it himself. He was humble, he was open, he was transparent. But if we do that same thing in our relationships, it gives us much more easier entry point. So I'm all over that. I'm all over that. Any thoughts on this three vital words that help make relationships work? And maybe you've got a personal experience on how you've seen that happen in your own life. I know as you're thinking through my question, I this last weekend I mentioned I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I would never proclaim that I'm a great speaker. But what I do give people when I share is I try to present a humble spirit. I try to be open, try to be transparent. I'm not perfect. I am in the same battle that these men are in, and I had so many men respond so favorably to our message, and I think they saw what Glenn's talking about here. I think they saw, I cared about them. I cared about helping them and encouraging them and blessing them and walking with them, and they could identify. They didn't see me at one level and them at another level. We were on the same page. We were talking the same issues. I was sharing with them my own personal struggles, my own issues, using that as a catalyst to talk about the need to be a man of character, to be a man of integrity, and how to do that through accountability. And you can't talk about those three words without being humble, open, and transparent. So any thoughts or reactions to how you've seen that work in your own relationships? And I'll let you guys share. Just hit your mute button off and take it away.
Well, this is a little crazy, but I was thinking about the movie Seabiscuit, and there's a part in there where that rider finally he meets the owner of this horse and the trainer, and like his first race, this guy cheats. He pushes him, he does something, and when the race is over, this guy loses the race in part because he got mad, he got frustrated, and was more focused on getting even with this guy that cheated on him and pushed him out of the way than focusing on the race. And when he's done, he's talking to the owner and the trainer, and the rider's just livid. He pushed me, he cheated, he did this, and the owner and the trainer are sitting there just kind of looking at him. What's wrong, son? And because for them, that's like, he cheated, so what? You needed to focus on the race, but his anger, the rider's anger and hurt just totally took his focus off of that. And to the point that he lost. And in the course of the movie, you see the rider come to the place where, he matures and he grows and all that stuff, probably in part to their leadership and their help. I sat in with Steve Pringle once or twice through the years, Glenn, and I didn't go in there with any huge hurts or anything, but I was always just amazed that sitting in with a good counselor, even once or twice a year, the clarity and the focus that you come away with after you have a meeting like that, and how much better you just feel. So I applaud what you're doing.
That's good.
Well, I will say that Glenn got me right from the start of all of the words in all three acrostics to me. And so far, Steve's alluded to it. Rod, you've alluded to it. To me, the one that I think is, if I could say one is more vital than the other, and I don't know that I'm willing to, die on that hill, but the humility is such a huge part. And, you pointed out so many good aspects of humility, Glenn, and it took my mind to somewhere where we will eventually get. It might be a year from now in Philippians, but no, it won't be that long. But in second chapter, when Paul writes, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility, count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." And I just think that is so key, because we see in the next part of the passage, he says, have this mind about you. In other words, have the mind of Christ. And of course, we certainly see that, and you pointed that out as well. And so I think in a lot of our relationship areas, if we were simply humbled, if we were humble men, it's going to go a long way in not only deepening those relationships, but sweetening those relationships as well. So I appreciate that reminder today so much. And I'll just say this, and I'm not getting paid to say it. I've known Glenn now for, I guess then we're going on 20 years. And I probably never would have met this guy had it not been for a ministry like TGIW, because I was a Southern Baptist preacher's kid, and that's all I ever knew. And I've said this before, I lived in that denominational cocoon forever. And I knew that there were other godly people elsewhere. I didn't rub elbows with them. And as a result of TGIW, I've gotten to know so many different people. In fact, one of the very memorable conferences I did was with a Quaker church. I never would have expected something like that before, and yet I just met some of the neatest, godliest men at that event, and others throughout the years. And Glenn is one of these guys that I have fallen in love with, that I probably would not have met until we got to heaven. And I'm grateful that the Lord has allowed our paths to cross. And so I would just, again, this is not a paid advertisement, but guys, if you do ever find yourself in need of just godly counsel and coaching, I would strongly encourage you to go to my friend, because I love it when Glenn and I get together, and he provides coaching to me, I think, without him even realizing or knowing it, because that's part of his character. That's part of who he is. So Glenn, thanks for this reminder today. And if nobody else on here needed it, I sure did. So I appreciate you, brother.
You're welcome, Greg. I'll pay you later.
I'll tell you what,
Let me add one more. There's a book out there called Humilitas, Humilitas at the end, and I can't remember the author's name, but he has the premise that people did not really understand what humility was in its fullness until Jesus came. Mm. And the world had been really more of a focused on humiliation, being humiliated or putting down somebody because they powered over them, like a king or an army or whatever it might be, or just putting an enemy down in some way, whether it be physically or emotionally, mentally, whatever. And so the author of Humilitas, it's a really short book, great read, but says that Jesus embodied what it meant to flip it all upside down and say that power is is overcome by the humility that we need for one another, before God, before others. And he's the perfect example of what humility is all about.
Hey, Glenn, I got to say something. I apologize, guys. I'm kind of dominating here, but you're exactly right. In the book that Charles Jefferson wrote in 1907 called The Character of Jesus, he actually highlights the word humility, and he said the exact same thing, that humility has been erroneously defined, persistently counterfeited, is what he says. And then he gives you the backdrop of what humbleness meant before Jesus. And here's some of the things. It was viewed as a defect, a blemish, a vice. The ancient Greeks viewed humbleness as an insult. It represented a low position reserved for slaves. It meant passive or soft or inferior in the presence of other people. I mean, that's the way the word was viewed throughout the ages. And Jesus flipped that script, and he flipped it to what humility really means. And it means simply, by biblical definition, means going low. It means going low. And the word humility actually comes from the word humus, and a gardener or farmer will recognize that word. That's where that deep soil is, that where you go to really get the growth. And when a guy goes low, when a guy goes deep, when a guy goes down in a position of humility, that's when God can actually exalt you. It says, he'll exalt those that humble themselves. He gives honor to those who humble themselves. That's what the scripture says, and Jesus is the one that modeled it. So yeah, I'm all over that word humility. And Greg, when you get there in Philippians 2, I'm sure you're going to unpack it even deeper than what I just tried to share. But humility is huge when it comes to relationships. So well done, guys. Well done. Hey, give me any thoughts on halts. I've used halts for years. Glenn, thanks for adding on that S. I think that S really even adds greater weight to that, the halts piece. And then I love the HURTS acronym too. That's a new one I've never seen. So thank you for that. Any thoughts on those halts or HURTS acronyms that Glenn gave us today?
Excuse me, all of this leads to one of the models for evangelism, which is make a friend, be a friend, and bring your friend to Christ. And when I was, by the way, this is a message from Elkhart, Indiana. I thought, Glenn, I thought you might appreciate that. Anyway, when I was in the workplace, there were a couple people in particular that I kind of made friends with, and got to know their situation, asking about their family. And whenever I saw either one of them was a lady who emptied the trash. I was sitting in my cubicle. She'd come and empty my trash every day. A guy was a maintenance guy, and I retired 16 years ago, or 15 years ago, but the guy, if I would see him today, he would shout to me from a long ways away, "Hi, Larry." And so those relationships are lasting, and they can lead to something more than that. That's all.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Anybody else?
I've been reading in my quiet time Psalm 1-3, which is a very, very familiar verse to a lot of people. But I read it this last week. It says, "Happy are those who reject the advice of evil people, don't follow the example of sinners, join those who have no use for God." Verse 2, instead they find joy in obeying the law of the Lord, and they study it day and night. Where I'm going with that is when I was reading that, it's just kind of where I'm at in life. It's good to have come to a place where you put yourself in a position where the people around you are helping you go there. And how much better you feel about life when that's going on. And for all the stuff that Glen's talked about today, that's what I see you being vital in helping other folks do, is come to this place where, you know, where they've got to figure out these people that I'm hanging around, they haven't been good to me. Their advice, the example that they've set, somehow I've got trapped in this and I need to find a way out. And you help them with that. And then they come to this place where they actually do find joy and walking with the Lord. And that's not a process that just happens at the snap of a finger, but over time. And they need people to walk them through that. And Glen, that's what I see you doing.
Mm. Hey, Steve, can I put you on the spot for one other thing? You had to kind of live out this humble piece by your adventure last week. Tell the guys what you did and what resulted. I don't know the end game, so what you're going to share is going to be news to me. How'd it go on your adventure? And tell the guys what you did.
What did I do last week?
Didn't you go to something called GC?
That's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Oh, then tell the guys what you're in for. So
I'm going to the big ditch tomorrow. Yes. So I'm going to fly to Las Vegas and then I'm going to drive 4 hours to the Grand Canyon and I'm going to walk across it. I'm going to descend about 5,000 feet of elevation, walk about another, that's about 5 miles, and then walk about another 15 or so, and then walk another 5 out of about 4,500 feet of elevation.
And tell the guys why tomorrow is such a big day, given your prior history there. Tell them what happened.
Well, a year ago we walked that, and that did not look at all like I thought it would look. And I learned some good lessons in that adventure last year, but it still did not come across the way that I wanted it to. So I'm going back and I'm doing it again. It's a do-over. So I'm looking forward to it. And I've done a lot of prep and a lot of training to get ready for this event.
So it's actually a really good picture, guys. Glen got humbled last year, and he's going low. He's done some really hard work, and we're excited to see what's going to happen on this do-over opportunity. And I think it's a great word picture of what we talked about today. And you're doing it with somebody. Anybody you're going with, or what's that look like?
Not this year. The Lord is going before me and with me.
Hmm.
And I've got a variety of people who know my route and everything about it. And I'll probably take a walkie-talkie with me. But this year, I was thinking about this morning. This is a very personal thing for me this year. Last year I did it with some guys and that was all good. But we had 4 different guys and we're all trying to run each other's race. And that worked for them to run theirs and the other guy to run his. I got to do this. I got to run my own race on this one, so to speak. I got to run it at my pace. And I was thinking about that from a standpoint of even our faith. You know, yes, we need groups, we need guys, we need that help, but sometimes the race is personal, and we got to run that race. We got to figure it out so that we can learn the lessons that we need to learn and then have a better impact on the people around us. But last year I tried to run it with those guys. I was running their race. I was trying to do their pace. It wore me out. It messed up my game plan. And this year it's very personal. I got to figure this thing out. That's part of why I'm going back, because I got to figure it out.
Cannot wait to hear how that goes, Steve. We'll be praying. You leave this afternoon?
No, I leave tomorrow. And Thursday, I'm planning on having my quiet time. I've printed off my Bible reading. And Thursday, at some point when I have my quiet time, I plan to have my feet in the cold water of the Colorado River at the bottom of the Grand Canyon to spend my time with the Lord. So journaling and all that stuff. So there's a lot of spiritual points I'll tell you about when I get back.
Okay. Cannot wait. Good. Thank you, Glen. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Glen, for allowing Steve to share a little bit of his story there. Very cool. Anybody else got anything before we say goodbye?
Yeah, right. I've got just a little personal story with Glen, kind of dovetail what Greg talked about. Just I first met Glen about a decade ago, actually. We had just started looking, my first wife and I were looking at new churches, and Glen was one of the first people that we had met. And he happened to be the first person that came and actually visited me at the hospital after the news of my first wife with her cancer. So he embodies what he's talking about today as far as relationship building. And I just wanted to share that. Glenn was very impactful and just guiding me, just being with me during that time of my life. So thanks, Glenn, for that. Thanks for your message. And definitely would be, again, I would endorse anybody if they have some coaching or counseling situations. Glenn would definitely be a great fit.
Thanks, Scott. Love you, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Scott. And just to reinforce what both Scott and Greg have already said, we're really glad to have Glenn part of our team. Just going to be another great addition. We've seen great growth take place through the addition of Damian Cooper has added tremendous value, and Glenn, you're going to do equally the same. We cannot wait to have you running full go with us, and you've already got up to a great start here too in the first month and a half that you've been doing this. So I love it.
Rod, I'd say a quick word. I too had several years of relationship with Glenn and love him as a brother. When we're talking about relationships, it is so important. And I think about Satan, how he wants to come in and destroy that. And when we are prideful, it's so easy for him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Humble is like throwing up a shield against him, because he wants to come in all these relationships and have offense occur. You offended me. And it just goes crazy from there, and it tears relationships up, and the Satan just throws fuel on that fire. So we have to be aware of that, and humble will be a remedy for that. So Glenn, great job. I love you, brother.
You too, Jim. Thanks.
So good. Well said, Jim.
Doesn't have to do with my message, but if you look in the background behind my face, you'll see a picture, and you probably can't tell what that is, but that's the FCA picture of the little boy in the background or in the foreground, and watching the older boys in the background. And I loved that photo for years, and it's been on my wall for a long time.
Oh yeah. First thing I noticed this morning when you got a line number 18, and it's actually a beautiful picture of humility too. There's these older men that have humbled themselves, and they are gathering, getting teaching, and that young boy is watching from afar, and it's impacting him to see these older guys, sharing their life, sharing the scriptures, sharing stories. And I've had a chance actually to meet the little boy that's depicted in that picture. Is David Dean is his name, and I've met David, and he's an FCA coach. At least he was during that time that I knew him years ago. But he grew up to be one of those guys around the circle, which is really cool.
It's cool. Yeah. Guys, if I could, I would love just to get to know each one of you, and maybe we'll have a chance one of these days. If not, heaven's coming, and we could always catch up for eternity. But I just enjoy hearing people's stories. I enjoy hearing what they did in the work life or whatever it might be. And I just encourage you, if you're not involved in a mentoring relationship, it says that everybody needs a Paul and everybody needs a Timothy to pour our lives into or be poured into. We can serve in both functions there, or be a part of an accountability group of 3 or 4 or 5 guys. I've been in part of 2 over the 20 years that I've been doing accountability groups. And, there's just some invaluable opportunities, growth opportunities, sharing opportunities, allowing God to pour in to you through others or through them to you. It's just a great opportunity. And when we, again, humble ourselves, open up, be transparent before other guys, I think that'll even encourage us in our own relationship with God to allow him to transform all that. So it's been fun. I've enjoyed it this morning. I look forward to tomorrow morning as well.
All right. With that being said, let's say goodbye, gentlemen. Thank you for being part. Some of you I'll see tomorrow. Some of you I'll see maybe tonight at our men's night, men's group. And let's keep pressing on. pressing on towards a relationship with God, relationship with others. Thank you, guys.